2 years ago, I spoke about Resident Evil 5. It was my first on-camera review, and it's pretty rough around the edges in terms of presentation. Continuing my quest after I covered Resident Evil 4 last time, in this video, we're going to be diving into the most often overlooked entry in the entire Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 5. I also didn't review the game very well, or in as much depth as I would now. One of the areas I could have gone into more depth on was DLC, since I just didn't cover it. At the time I reviewed the game, I didn't own the DLC, and this video is here to rectify that issue, as I'll be covering both Desperate Escape and Lost in Nightmares. These were two short pieces of DLC released in 2010 after the success of RE5's release the year prior. These are both expansions on parts of the story shown during the main campaign. Desperate Escape shows how Jill and Josh got the helicopter so they could save Chris and Sheva at the end of the game, and Lost in Nightmares gives us an extension on what happened during the Wesker flashback fight. Let's start with Desperate Escape. This can be played in either single player or co-op like the main story, with the player either taking control of Jill Valentine after being saved from her mind control, or Josh, one of Sheva's friends from the BSAA. This is a combat focused DLC, with the two having to go up against waves of enemies, battling through a facility in order to reach a helicopter pad and escape to go save Chris and Sheva from the volcano. This DLC can be really tough, as the game starts you off with barely any ammo and no way to heal yourself, so it could be very easy to die in the first area. It throws everything at you, as by this point, you should have finished the main campaign, so you've fought all the enemy types already. You can still use classic RE5 tactics to make your way through and save some ammo, by stunning the enemies before giving them either a kick or knee dropping them as Jill. Josh also has his own version of melee attack, but I don't know what they are, since I always like to play as Jill for no particular reason. But for real, I just really like Jill Valentine. She's so cool, and I'm sad that she hasn't had a starring role in a game since this DLC. Capcom, please bring her back. The plot here is serviceable and does its job of filling in what these characters were up to while Chris and Sheva were battling Wesker to stop complete global saturation. Nothing stands out here, so let's move on to the second DLC, Lost in Nightmares. Lost in Nightmares is a standout DLC, and I genuinely believe it's some of the best DLC released for any RE game ever. Not a Hero, Shadows of Rose, none of these compare to Lost in Nightmares for me. To fully understand this opinion, however, I will have to quickly explain where Resident Evil was in 2010. RE started off as a series of survival horror games focused on exploration and puzzle solving rather than their action and combat. Combat was always present, but never the main focus. The games actively encouraged not fighting some enemies, instead avoiding them with skillful maneuverability. However, after the release of Resident Evil 4, the series took a more action-heavy approach, and this carried over into Resident Evil 5. So with that being said, when this DLC starts us off in a mansion that looks a lot like the main hall of the Spencer mansion, and has us solving puzzles to open doors and gain keys to access new areas, I was absolutely over the moon with it. There's a really cool Easter egg that if you inspect the front door of the mansion 3 times, you can actually revert the game back to the old fixed camera and tank controls. This is amazing to see as a callback to the series roots, and definitely fits the pace of this DLC. Also, as you go through doors, there's a quicker version of the door transitions from years gone by that gave me a real tingly feeling inside. The layout of the house is also very similar to the original mansion, so those who played the first game or its remake will be very familiar with the layout, but it's not an exact copy, so it does still throw a few twists in there. There's an underground prison area that honestly isn't as good as the main mansion, but still includes some good enemy encounters and door puzzles where you and your partner need to work together. All this leads to a sewer-like area where you are stripped of all weapons gathered up until this point, and you need to kill an enemy with a trap in order to get the key to escape. You grab a pistol each in the hallway, and we catch up to the part of the flashback we saw in the main story and get a boss fight with Albert Wesker. This is a fight you can't win, but it's still a fun time regardless, since Wesker can absolutely destroy you by throwing you across the room. It feels really good to actually get a rare hit in on Wesker. So overall, these DLC are a fantastic addition to the game, and for me, Lost in Nightmares is worth the asking price on its own. The only complaint I have is that the DLC are pretty short. Neither of them lasted more than an hour, but when considered part of the RE5 experience, which is with the Gold Edition, I can say that you should definitely give them a go. I've been Roscoe M, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!